Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today. Now, if you may recall, on January 3rd, on our first episode of 2021, we were talking about a bill that's, well, pretty significant, and that is Assembly Bill A416. You may have heard about this. It's caught a lot of attention across the state. A lot of people became aware of it and were terrified. We were part of that. Now, we promised that we would be following up as this bill became official. It was introduced into the New York State Assembly. We are here to do that today. Before we do that, though, we do want to mention, if you have not been here before, we do a long-form political commentary, and we address a lot of the issues of the day. Every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, so that you can respond to us to tell us what you think about what's going on in this country. Because we believe in the First Amendment, even though the internet overlords don't always agree. That being said, let's talk about the issue today. Assembly Bill A416. It's something that's kind of important, and let's go back to when we were talking about it on Sunday. And on Sunday, we had said in part, upon determining by clear and convincing evidence that the health of others is or may be endangered, keyword may be, so it doesn't even have to be a fact, it just has to be an idea, by a case, contact, or carrier, or suspected case. Again, this doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to be real. Suspected case, contact, or carrier of a contagious disease, any contagious disease. The common cold is a disease. It's a cold. It's common. Tuberculosis. There's a lot of things that are common. Pneumonia. So that falls under there. That, in the opinion of the governor, the governor's opinion, again, not science, not fact, not documentation, not a vote, the opinion of the governor, that after consultation with the commissioner may impose an imminent and significant threat to the public health, might, doesn't need to be a fact, just has to be the idea. Okay? That gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here. And that is the actual wording of the bill that, again, is A416. Now, we reached out and we were speaking to specifically several members of the New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate. And we directly named on Sunday State Senator Fred Akshar, Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo, Assemblyman Doug Smith, and the newly elected Assemblyman Joe Angelino. And we reached out to each and every one of these individuals. We know them. We've spoken with them. In fact, Fred Akshar, Donald Lepardo, and Doug Smith have all appeared on this program at least once, if not several times, to speak with us in interviews that you have heard. So they know us well. And we were speaking about the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment, which we believe that this bill, Assembly Bill A416, violates. That it destroys our right to privacy. It destroys our ability for due process. It is abnormal punishment for a non-crime. And this is something that we took very seriously. So we reached out to each and every one of those members, and we asked them for a comment on where they stand, because we believe it is important to hold our elected officials accountable to the public. Where they stand, the public needs to know. We believe in that transparency. So to that end, we're going to go right to what did they actually say. And we're going to start off with, and to be fair and to be clear, we want to mention that, there we go. We want to start off with and be very clear that State Senator Fred Akshar actually had made a comment prior to our comment on January 2nd. We did not see that. It was on Facebook, and we had missed that when we were making our conversation, our live stream on Sunday. State Senator Fred Akshar said, "Far too many unconstitutional bills are introduced in government each year, but this legislation undermines the very fabric of our democracy and our basic liberties. It should never see the light of day. The moment you start encouraging the forcible removal and detention of, quote, cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases, end quote, by order of the governor, is the moment you lose the support of the people you're elected to serve." And he links to the bill itself. So that was the comment by Fred Akshar, and you can see one of the comments by one of his constituents mentions, "Quit wasting taxpayer dollars on that which is not essential. Stop wasting taxpayer dollars, but on that which is essential. Big government, big waste. People will flee the state. Politicians have gone amok." In addition, we also saw that there was a response not to our email, but into the public from Assemblyman Doug Smith. And Assemblyman Doug Smith states, "I have received a high number of calls regarding Bill A416 by Assemblyman Nick Perry. This bill is dead on arrival. This bill proposes detaining individuals by name or groups by, quote, specific description, end quote, that are suspected to be infected with a contagious disease into, quote, detention facilities, end quote. There are a number of outrageous bills that are introduced each year and will be introduced in the future, unfortunately. This bill was not considered in the past, and I have spoken with a number of my colleagues, and this bill is not being seriously considered now. However, I do agree that it should be concerning anytime anyone in government proposes such a dangerous idea." This was the comment. So these are the comments that were put out on Facebook by State Senator Fred Akshar and Assemblyman Doug Smith. Now, neither responded to our emails requesting a comment, but we do have their comments to the public. We did get, I should mention as well, that Assemblyman Joe Angelino just was sworn in over the last couple of days. He is just beginning to respond and receive emails, so we understand that he may not have a response immediately to us on this issue, nor did he have a statement online that we were able to find. But we were able to receive a response from Assemblywoman Donna Lapardo, who has been on the program several times. And we're going to provide you her comment. And we will say that Assemblywoman Donna Lapardo responded immediately to our comment. It should also be noted that Assemblywoman Donna Lapardo is the only Democrat that we reached out to and also responded even though the Republicans did not. Donna Lapardo states, "Thank you for your email. I hope you've been well. This Perry bill has been around since 2015, when it was first introduced as the Ebola virus posed a potential public health threat. The bill was not written in the context of the current COVID-19 pandemic. Nonetheless, I agree that the legislation would set a dangerous precedent, and it is definitely not something I would support. It currently does not have a Senate sponsor and was referred to the Assembly Health Committee with no other sponsors other than Mr. Perry. It has been this case every year since its initial introduction. There have been rumors circulating that we are planning to take this bill up for a vote soon as this week. This is definitely not the case. In fact, I do not see this bill advancing out of committee under any circumstances. Sincerely, Assemblywoman Donna Lopardo. Again, each of the members of the state legislature that we reached out to, we sent each of them a letter. They are aware that any and all comments they made would be read verbatim in full context, as we are doing right now for you. For those who have not reached out to us, we are going by their public statements as found on Facebook, if applicable. We also found one other statement that we do want to include in this, and this is from Assemblyman John Salka. Give me 1 second, sorry. Assemblyman John Salka is the Assemblyman of the 121st District in New York. And Assemblyman Salka released a statement both on Facebook and in an interview with the Madison County Courier, a local newspaper. And Assemblyman Salka states, and I quote, "We cannot give the governor sole authority to detain someone as it is simply unconstitutional. I am deeply disappointed in my colleagues who are seeking to add to Governor Cuomo's numerous emergency powers. Now is not the time to introduce a bill like this, giving the governor even more power over the people. As I have said before, we must limit the governor's emergency powers, and the legislature must do its job by checking the power of the executive. We must bring a sense of normalcy back to the state as we have navigate through this pandemic. I have led the charge to balance New York's emergency power statutes, and I will continue to do so throughout the rest of this pandemic." There was also a statement by Assemblyman Salka, which appeared on his Facebook page, and he states, quote, "And I join many of my Assembly and Senate colleagues with our concern that although at this time this bill seems to be going nowhere, there is still no commitment from the sponsor to the bill to pull the bill. Why?" And we do share that comment. Now, we wanted to be very fair to each and every one of the members of the New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate that we reached out to, and to everyone that we have searched to find out. We wanted to provide you their comments first in full context and in verbatim to whatever response we had received, so that you are aware, and this is full transparency. Having provided that, I do want to address something that was said by Assemblywoman Donna Lopardo, who we again thank for responding so quickly, literally the same day we sent her the request for comment. She is correct. This bill, Assembly Bill A416, and you'll see the link for that, is in fact a bill that has been around since 2015. As you can see, it was then, in 2015, it was Assembly Bill A6891. It is exactly the same bill. It was, again, introduced by Assemblymember Perry of the 58th District of New York, which is in Brooklyn. It states word for word, verbatim, and it has been introduced in 2015, 2017, 2019, and again now in 2021. And it is correct and true that this bill, which has never had any support, was initially created under the fear of Ebola. So Assemblywoman Donna Lopardo is absolutely correct about this information, and we wanted to make sure people are aware. Yes, this bill has been around and has been ignored. But there is a difference that we would like to say. Today, we are dealing with nothing but the COVID-19. The pandemic that has shut down not only the United States, not only New York State, not only the North American continent, but the entire world. And in this environment where we see lockdowns, even though the World Health Organization has said there should be no lockdown, where we have seen the consideration of mandates and vaccine passports, where we have seen people devastated by the actions of government and the short-sighted nature and reactions of Governor Cuomo, Governor Newsom, Governor Whitmer, as just a short example, we are terrified that a bill, A416, can exist. And the fact that it exists means that at some point it may become law. It depends only on the amount of fear that exists and the will of Governor Cuomo to use his executive powers, his emergency powers, to push this bill forward, and suddenly it will be law. It is not enough, in our opinion, that our members of the Assembly and the New York State Senate to say this bill is dead on arrival. It is not enough for them to say that this has never had support. It must be rejected outright. It must be removed. As Assemblyman John Salka says, why has it not been removed? Why are we seeing this year after year? What happens when no one pays attention and there is enough fear out there in the public to make this go forward? Then it will be too late to stop. We also want to mention one other comment about A416 and other bills similar to it. It's a quote that I think is very timely and very important. It comes from a Mr. Wang, who says, "The very nature of the national security law is a draconian blanket law, allowing the government to arrest and potentially imprison people for long periods, for long terms, for exercising their constitutionally protected rights." We agree with that statement, and we believe that statement is absolutely important and powerful. And it applies to Bill A416. Now, you may say to yourself, well, Michael, who is Mr. Wang? Why is he saying this? You may not be familiar with this elected official, this individual. So you may wonder, why would we quote him? Well, Mr. Wang, to be very clear, is not an American. Not an American at all. In fact, he is a representative from the city of Hong Kong, a pro-democratic member of their, or former member of their legislature, who is fighting to have the same rights that Americans enjoy and take advantage of and forget about every day. And Mr. Wang is currently being persecuted by the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party. And he and 50 of his associates, 50 pro-democracy figures, have been arrested by the Hong Kong police, as it has been reported. And as we see reported today, January 5th, 2021, by KATU2 ABC News. This is a problem because we see, and again, you can read this article for yourself, but his concern is the same concern that we have here in New York State, in all of the states of America, and throughout the world. When fear overrides the law, people will be harmed. We truly and strongly believe that Assembly Bill A416 is a threat to American life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is a national security issue. We implore Assemblyman Perry to remove this bill, and that all Americans should be aware of this and bills similar to it, because it is these bills when they lack transparency, that they become enacted and take away our liberty. We thank Assemblywoman Donna Parler for her immediate response. We thank her for her support of the Fourth and Fifth Amendments of the United States and protecting her constituents by not supporting this bill and stating that she would oppose it. We thank State Senator Fred Akshar and Assemblyman John Salka for coming out publicly, reaching out on social media, stating that they oppose this bill and they believe that it is absolutely wrong for its mere existence. We thank both Assemblyman Doug Smith for his comments, and we look forward to hearing from Assemblyman Joe Angelino as he is now just started, as he will be responding to his constituents on this and many other issues. You deserve the transparency. You need a news media that continues to follow up on these issues. It was very popular Sunday. No one's talking about it today. We will. The bill has been officially introduced. It is part of the New York State Legislature slate of bills to be considered for 2021. It needs to be rejected. It needs to be removed. That's what we think. Perhaps you disagree. Perhaps there's something we missed on this story. We look forward to seeing your comments here, and we look forward to hearing from you on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have enjoyed this, if you believe it was useful, or if you liked the program in general, please do subscribe because it helps us to get the word out, to share our First Amendment rights with you and everyone in America and those around the world. We thank you, and we hope you have a great day.